first guests today are TSTO Studio from Helsinki. We are here two of the three co-founders, Matti and Antti. Please join me on the stage. Thank you for this round of applause to warm a bit the atmosphere.
Thank you.
These two guys will speak about the story of the studio, basically, and also focusing on the importance of being friends in starting a collaboration and a work, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, the pros and cons of being friends.
So, this is...
Thank you. And first of all, thank you very much, Serene Graphic Days, for having us. It's we're very honored to be here, and it's great to see all of you in the audience.
And he's Matti.
And this is Antti. And we are the two, as he said, like two of the founding partners of TSTO present here today. We were supposed to have a third member, but he couldn't make it.
Yeah, so we only have 30 minutes time, so we try to be really quick and efficient and squeeze the brief history of TSTO in 30 minutes.
Yeah. So we started the studio back in 2010 with 6 friends. We all studied together at this University of Art and Design Helsinki, and it was like a really bad idea to go into business with 6 designers being friends. This is where we studied, and during the years that we were studying together, we were collaborating quite a lot on various projects together, ranging from like different illustrations to kind of music-based stuff. This is Antti's band and his album cover. Very illustration-based, a lot of music, some magazine work, posters, so forth. And then we thought that it would be beneficial if we would join forces and like make it official and start a studio. So we had these like really idealistic ideas about what it is like to start a studio and how it is to work together since we're all friends and how great it's going to be, but it wasn't. We had like nobody in charge of any business, or nobody had any experience, or we didn't really know what the hell we were doing. Like we had been freelancing and working for other people, but it was, but it was really like, we learned a lot during that time.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was like that we should get like some real work. We were just like waiting at our new studio space for the phone to ring and somebody to commission something. And then came this like magazine called Suomen Kuvalehti, which is kind of like an equivalent for Newsweek or something, like really like a serious magazine dealing with like political issues and such.
Yeah, so they ran this like extensive article over this. They had set up a committee to brand Finland as a nation of how Finland should look and how it should feel and so forth. But the magazine did this really critical piece about how it's kind of impossible to brand a country in that sense, and they wanted us to like really destroy the magazine in a way. So we were playing around a lot with these like kind of classic Finnish icons, paintings, art, literature, politics, so forth.
Yeah, and we didn't want to like, because the brand committee of Finland wanted Finland to be this like really like polished Scandinavian design, high-tech Nokia country.
This is Nokia's former CEO cursing Apple.
Yeah, this was like in 2010, so Nokia was already becoming kind of like this old dinosaur, and Apple had like gone past its way many days ago.
Yeah, so
those are Moomins from Finland.
Our finest export. But then, like, we did that thing, and then we were like, so what are we gonna do? This is kind of like what we were doing when we were studying, but like we want to push it a little bit bigger as a studio, or see where like we could take it.
Yeah, it's not like, because if it's not that like economical or like money-wise if there's like 6 people working on one magazine illustration. So we needed some like, originally when we set up the company, our idea was that we could like control bigger entities, like not just doing one illustration for an identity or a magazine. Rather, we wanted to like design the whole magazine or the whole identity. And then there was this Flow Festival. I can take the remote for a while. Flow Festival, it's like a really big festival in Helsinki. There's a lot of like independent music, but there's also some like bigger names there, and they have some like art and design involved as well. And that was like one of the, when we thought that what kind of clients we would like to work with in Helsinki. So that was like on top of our list. And then one day they contacted us and said that they're looking for a new partner to renew their graphic identity. And they asked a lot of other companies as well, but then we decided like we don't usually do like pitching that much, but we thought that this is something that we would really like to do, and it would be like a quick, good push for us since we were like a really fresh and new company. And then we came up with this idea that what is a festival and what's like what kind of concept we could have. And then we thought that festival is maybe a little bit like a religious gathering, and it has like this, maybe we could like design some of these like religious aesthetics, like some amulets or
rites and like so forth.
Yeah, and at first we had this like different concept at the pitching stage, which we showed to them, and then we didn't hear of them for a long time, and we thought that we didn't get the job. But then they sent us an email that they would like to work with us, and they said that we don't really like how the stuff you did for us really looks, but you really like gave a lot of thought what the festival, what kind of concept could be behind the visual identity, and they said that they want to see where this takes us. And then we came with this idea that at first we want to do like a custom-made typeface for them, so we did this like Flow typeface. And then we thought that how we could use this as some kind of like a religious thing.
Or that the type will have some kind of a voice.
Yeah, so then we came up with this idea of like a religious mantra, kind of like, so it went something like this, as you can see also, like flow, yeah, but so it works like this, and you can like repeat it all over the place. But then we thought that we cannot have only the typeface, we need some illustrations as well, so we commissioned this like old drinking buddy of ours called Santtu Mustonen. He's the one dressed as Garfield at the Art University masquerade party. He was really talented at making these costumes as well, apparently. So he made these like illustrations for the identity, and they were like really. He was then just like starting up his illustration career. Now he's already like well off with his career. And so when you combine the typographic mantra and the illustrations, it becomes like this. Okay, yeah, it was a bit maybe, I don't know which was better, this one or the when we sang it live. Yeah, thank you. Okay, but yeah, so it was like implemented into various applications.
Yeah, and it was really nice to get to work on a project with this kind of scope, that you could see it all over the city. There were publications, like it was everywhere in the city. Like it really like took over the city, and it still does.
Yeah, and then like originally we agreed that we're gonna do it for 3 years, so it was a 3-year concept that we can just like for the next year we made a green color and Santtu made some new illustrations.
And then vary a little bit the typographic use, or like what kind of, like how do we set the type and what kind of like optic treatments we would do with that and the illustration.
Yeah, and then the 3rd year it was blue, and then we got tired of the white background, so we made a few different alternative backgrounds. And Santtu again made some new illustrations with the same style. But then after 3 years, they were still really happy with the identity, and it had kind of like became Flow Festival's identity, and they didn't want to like renew it totally. So they asked us like if we would like to work on it for like 1 more year. So then, because we had run out of colors, so we thought that let's make it like black and white, like monochromatic.
And use these like really generic 3D illustrations.
Yeah, Santtu had become already like too famous illustrator
and too expensive.
Yeah, so we did this like really generic style 3D stuff, really like metallic plastic, but so that it wouldn't look like only like a heavy metal festival, we added just like a glimpse of color because the client also wanted it. So then it was like this. But yeah, now when we had done it for 4 years, we also thought that it's like really like difficult for us to get anything like new out of it. Like we had kind of like drained the whole concept. And so then after the 4th year, we decided with the festival that it's maybe best that we part ways, and then, but maybe we'll show this one video still.
So that's where we parted ways with Flow for the time being. It felt like there's nothing where we can like push it anymore with those elements, and another agency took over the identity. Meanwhile, we were working at the studio, doing a lot of work with projects like in the fields of culture, art, and design. And in some ways, we were exactly where we wanted to be, like when we first had started the studio, and we were also gaining confidence and coming to an understanding of the industry and like what the work actually is and what it requires as a studio for us to make ends meet and so forth. But then it led to a point where like 3 of the founding partners decided that they don't want to do graphic design after seeing the game through, sort of, to speak. And they went on to do other things, mostly into art or writing. So they left the studio, and then it was just me, Antti, and Jonathan left. But now we had like more of a focus on what we were actually able to do the work that we want to do, and we actually wanted to do graphic design. So we were also able to say no to projects that didn't feel correct to us or right, because the financial pressure wasn't there anymore in such a sense. And also there was a lot less complexity around running the studio. And also we started appreciating a lot more the existing clients that we had and the long-term work that we're doing with them. One of whom is this company called Artec, who is now in the very good hands of Vitra. It's a really prime example of Finnish kind of modernist design, Started out in the 40s and
30s.
oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, and they've had a really successful long history, like in incorporating art and design together, and it's become like a household thing in Finland. So we started working with them on with different product launches, events, so forth. We made interpretations of their products. This is what is it?
It's called the Kaari collection by the Burulek brothers. So it's always that they have some like product that they want to like push for the up and coming year, and then we make some like graphic abstract or more or less abstract illustrations based on the products and do some invitations and
yeah. So and there's always like some animated content to go alongside with these.
yeah. But all those like products are something like that because we've born and bred in Finland. So these are like such iconic products in Finland that you've seen them when you were a child in like in the kindergartens and schools and everywhere. And so all this like this typical Alvar Aalto stuff is this like wood and like shapes bent from wood. So
yeah, like Artek was this like equivalent to an IKEA, like when it first started out.
a bit better products.
Yes, but like the same idea, producing for the masses. So, like work doing that stuff for Artek led us to another thing that we did, studying these Aalto shapes. We did this outline collection based on like it ended up being a station. Oh, missed the skip slide. It ended up as this.
Stationery collection.
Yes, stationery collection and a series of posters and so forth. And what was really nice about this project was that we were able to work with the Vitras research team about like the printing and the papers and so forth. So this was a real treat.
And then there's this in 2015. This was one of like more. Then we started getting also like some identity work rather than just making some illustrations for them. We did the 80th anniversary identity.
And this burn mark was in all the furniture they produced that year.
Yeah, so there was this like logo type. Can I borrow the remote for a while? So, and then we also had this like key visual. This is like maybe Artek's most famous product is this like stool number 60. And it has this like, again, the bent wood there.
IKEA has a cheap rip-off.
Yeah, yeah. But so we like it's always like so we've been looking at these like Artek shapes a lot. So it's always kind of like a challenge to somehow try to find some new way to make this like really simple shape into some illustration or a key visual. So then here we took some inspiration from the like the op art kind of style, and became like this, and then we had this like gold foiled logo. This is like it was like this anniversary poster, and then it was used on some invitations and window vinyls, and this was kind of like a small hit for us. It's still being used. Like last year, for example, Conran Shop took Artek into their selection, and they also wanted to use this illustration of ours, and then. After that, they started to make a new like Artek flagship store in Helsinki, and here we had to, because Artek's visual identity is basically they only have the logo type, and then they have the Futura font, and they have black and white colors. So we came up with some new graphic material, and we took like a really close look at some Artek shapes. Like here's a pattern, and made these like abstract illustrative elements that we can use with the identity.
Yeah, and what's great with like working with Artek is that like we get to touch so many of their I don't know, touch base with like so many of their different like channels. And even like for the shop, we were able to do some 3D work, which was really interesting.
Yeah, we designed this like relief for the shop about the stool number 60 components.
And then also we managed to introduce some new type typographic elements to the identity.
Yeah, besides I'm not only using the Futura. But then now just last year, or was it this year, they set up their
This year.
Yeah, their new a flagship store to Tokyo as well. And the Tokyo team said that we cannot be so minimalistic as we are in Finland because the Artec products are so well known in Finland, but the Japanese audience is not so familiar with them, so we have to like somehow be a bit more straightforward that it's also like a furniture store. So we took a look at, they have a really nice archive of photography, so we assembled a set of photography and then we just made this like really rough big raster treatment, and we also made some new shapes. This is, for example, this like a new Riihitie vase that they have, and this is the Tokyo store being set up. Like they had some like work in progress kind of vinyls on the windows while they renovated it inside. So the identity is basically based on the Helsinki store identity, but it has some new colors and some new elements and sticker sheets for the opening and so on. And and we're still also, let's see like what we do with them next. But here's Matti will tell you a bit about another dear client of ours and a nice project.
Yes, this is Helsinki Kunsthalle or Helsinki Taidehalli. It's a really classic architecture, like the building, but people have had trouble finding it or associating Taidehalli with this like building which is set in like right behind the Houses of Parliament. So like the way we approached the identity was to make the building kind of the identity. So this is the logo type for the Kunsthalle. But we didn't really want it to be just this like standalone monolith thing. Oops. Did I skip it? Yes. Yeah. So the logo type is always kind of living around and like going crazy because it's a functioning space of art. So there's this system of changing like variable logo types, and then also with the identity we have a set of like these illustrative elements that are drawn straight from the building. These are all shapes that occur somewhere in the building, in the architecture.
Yeah, as you can see on the floor here on the lobby.
Yeah, these are different window frames and so forth, and we use them like as illustrative elements in setting up different applications. And as for the typography, we really wanted to kind of like stack it up and play Tetris with it in a way. So we're always like trying to fit as much as possible, and then just like stack it like in whatever direction it fits. And one thing that's really nice about them, we do all their exhibition identities, so there's always like printed invites and so forth. So we get to work with like a lot of printers, materials, and that's like kind of a rare treat for us these days.
Yeah, now many like these clients, they have only like digital invites, which is also nice. It like saves the nature and everything.
Yeah, like
but still, it's nice to work on like craft materials.
Yeah, something tangible.
Yeah, we have a lot of forests in Finland anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's nice also about these is that like there's animation involved in most of the exhibition identities, and we see these around the city, and that's always a pleasure. Oh, hello.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well then. Again, like as we told you, we parted ways with the Flow Festival in 2014. So in 2017, they had this like dilemma that the initial typographic system that we had developed got very popular, and it had kind of like grown into their identity, and they couldn't get rid of it, and they didn't even want to get rid of it. So, for example, the other agency that was working on the identity for the 3 years that we were not involved, they had to also use our font. and meanwhile Flow Festival had grown, and it had gotten more like international attention as well. So they didn't want to still renew the identity totally, and they didn't want to lose the typeface. But we felt that
It was mistreated. Like
and
they had like really not like held it well.
yeah, but also at the same time it was designed in 2011, and maybe the typeface itself didn't like stand the test of time that well. So we wanted to like renew it a bit. And also when they contacted us and said that we would like you to come back to work on the identity, it was like same time a really nice opportunity, but it was still like, you know, kind of like getting back into an old relationship. But it was such a nice relationship back at the time, so we decided that let's go for it. And we took on the job. And first we decided that, okay, let's do some like a lot of like alternative lettering for the original Flow typeface and make it a little bit bolder. Here you can see like the new logo type treatment, so we have like multiple E's, multiple L's, and we can vary them a bit.
But we needed some professional help with this.
Yeah, we're not really like professional typographers. We can do like something, but if you need like a proper font, we use our like professional friends.
Yeah, so we found my dress-up buddy Lauri from Shiktoikka.
Yeah, he's a professional typographer.
Yes, he's very good. He shares a studio with us.
Yeah, but he's like Matti said, they have this like Shiktoikka type foundry with his partner Florian Schick, who's based in Berlin. And anyway, then with them we made this like Flow inverted kind of contrast typeface and a light display typeface, and then we can use them, and it looks really nice with the artist names. But we also wanted to make like a secret language inside the Flow language. And you know that we were inspired by this Dingbats by Herman Chaff, and for example how fellow graphic designer David Carson back in the early 90s, who was working with this Ray Gun magazine. Once, for example, there was an article about Brian Ferry, and David Carson thought that the article itself is so boring to read that he will just lay it out with Chaff Dingbats. So you couldn't like read the article, but at least it looks cool.
Yeah, visually interesting.
And so we decided that, yeah, we're going to do our own Dingbats also inside the Flow typeface. And so you can use them here, like as you can see, we have this, we call these tickers. We can use them in the tickers, and we can use them as dividers with the artist names, or
big illustration elements.
Yeah, with the posters. And so basically the identities nowadays, it's just like the Dingbats and the new typefaces, and we have a yellow color. Did some like merchandise graphics with a Helsinki-based clothing company. And then this was a nice thing. We also did this like set of like these GIFs you can use in like Instagram stories. So this is also like nowadays, when you compare it when we were working with Flow before, it's now everything is much more digital as well, and you have to have a lot of animations. And now for the next year, this is like the last project we're going to show you, because we only have a few minutes left. This is like this summer's Flow Festival, so the 2019 identity. The festival wanted to further simplify the identity. They really liked our renewal, so they wanted to stick with it and keep the same colors and everything. And so we thought, like, how can we still keep the identity same but change it a bit? So we thought, we made some like exploration, and we thought that the Dingbats actually look really nice when they're wider and they can be like flexible. So we drew some new Dingbats, and I think they look much more like kind of dynamic and a bit more like nasty in a way, because it's like more sharp when they're like wider. And they move nicely also because now it helps with the alignment and everything.
Yeah, now we're just like exploring of like how the animation level is going to affect the identity in the future, and it's going to be really interesting to see where we're going to push it
Yeah.
or where it gets pushed. Like we don't know what we're doing basically.
Yeah, for the next year. But yeah, this is like, it's still like, as you can see, it's pretty much the same as before, but it's still a bit different. And you also, it's nice to take it a little bit further and work on the details as well, when you don't have to renew it totally. This is how it looks on the actual.
Yeah, and one really nice thing about Flow, can you put the previous slide? Is that like on the main stage they didn't have Flow Festival written anywhere, so it was just a row of dingbats at the top.
Yeah, like a Nike swoosh. Yeah. Yeah, and also we've been working on the website and did some new merchandise graphics again, and I guess that's pretty much it. The counter says 29 and 40 seconds, so we have
Nailed it, yes.
20 seconds left, quite a good timing.
Yeah, so we have one more thing we want to show you, a little video, but like, yeah, thanks again for having us, and it was really nice to be here, and we're looking forward to seeing some other talks. Thank you.
Thank you.